So there's a group turning up at lunchtime today with this petition that says don't reduce the age of criminal offending to 12, keep it at 14, don't do it to 12. These kids will just get criminalised much more quickly. Don't change the approach, it's working. In long term it is. Long-term youth crime has come down. There's been a spike recently, but long-term it's come down. Aaron Hendry is with the group behind the petition and is heading to Parliament and is a busy man this morning, so I'll better jump in and see him and have a chat now. Aaron, g'day, good morning.
Hey, kia ora. How you doing, brother?
Not too bad. Why are you guys, somewhat, just to explain to people what you're doing today?
Yeah, kia ora. So, look, we're heading down to Parliament. Look, I'm part of an organisation called Kickback. We are a part of a wider collective of over 30 organisations that are organisations that serve young people and serve children and are really concerned about the Ram Rape Bill and the fact that it ignores all the evidence that we have around how to actually make a difference in this space, and rather risks further criminalising children as young as 12 and pushing them into the justice system, which we know, when we look at the evidence, which we know actually causes greater harm and perpetuates further harm into our communities.
If the bill is passed in its current form, what's the worst case scenario? What will we see as a society?
We would see more children entering the justice system. We see more children who are traumatised and harmed, getting further traumatised and harmed, entering into the justice system, which means that, from the evidence we have again, that they're more likely to cause more harm in the community longer term and have be significantly impacted in terms of their life and their growth and their development. But also, and it's really important to acknowledge that this is not about, it's not about these children versus the business community or these children versus the community. It actually harms all of us because we're not actually solving the issue. These kids end up in these systems where, their lives aren't turned around. They come back into our communities and the cycle continues and more people get hurt. And so, I guess fundamentally we say, look, we have the evidence to respond to this well. We know what works. What we need is the government to listen to us as a community, listen to the experts, listen to the advice, and provide us the support that we require to really respond adequately so that we can support our communities and ensure that we can address the big concerns that our community has.
So what then, people listening to this, Aaron, what then would you do with, say, a 12-year-old repeat ram raider who's caught up in another ram raid tonight and you are tasked with putting this kid's life back on track and giving him some consequences and punishment for what he's been up to? What's the answer, mate? What do you do? Because that's what I think people want to hear practically what you would do in these circumstances to show us that it's working.
Yeah, totally. So first, one thing that is happening, and it is working, is the fast track program that the last government introduced. This government acknowledged on Sunday it's working and they're going to continue investing in it. And that is basically a project that enables the community and government agencies to work together and swiftly respond. So, if you've got a young person, that young person comes to attention, you can quickly get involved. Whether it's housing, whether it's, poverty and, they're needing support with MSD, whether it's, more wraparound support around the whānau, they can respond to that really quickly. And I think the numbers around that, it's like 76% of those who had engaged with that program haven't reoffended. And so, there is success happening there. Some of the other, deeper interventions are for young people that, maybe they're experiencing homelessness. So there's a group of young people that don't have safe places to live, that are literally on our streets, and that's one of the driving factors. And so it's responding to that. It's ensuring that we have housing services that can provide wraparound support for those young people. This government, unfortunately, has cut $20 million that would have gone into building those very services that would have served some of these young people. We've just heard about further cuts into funding in community-based services that would have supported young people in those situations. And so it's ensuring that actually we have the resources in our local communities that can actually wrap around, support those communities, support those young people, and do the things that work. And we know that what works is it's connection, it's community, it's dealing with the driving factors, poverty, homelessness, housing insecurity. It's coming in and taking really targeted approaches and supporting these young people. Now, if there is a situation, and there may be with some young people where they aren't safe in the community and they need to be, taken into a more supportive environment for a period of time. Well, evidence would show us is that we would look at developing far more localised, community-based spaces where, small numbers, 5 to 6 home environments where young people can receive therapeutic wraparound support in connection with their community and with their whānau.
What about, I mean, are you against prisons as a philosophy, eh?
But I think when we look at the prison system as it is currently, it doesn't serve children, it doesn't serve young people, and it doesn't prevent long-term, it doesn't prevent that harm that we're all concerned about from occurring, right? So young people...
But what about public safety, though? But what about public safety? But public safety is crucial, though, right, Aaron? And you've got to take some people off the streets because they keep repeating the behaviour.
So that's what I'm saying, right? So if you're talking about whether it works, you've got to ask yourself, what are you trying to achieve? 100% of young people that go into a youth residential situation will come out. And so it's all good bringing them into a residence for a period of time. Maybe the behaviour stops, they get some good support. In some cases they don't, but they come out again and we haven't actually solved the issues. And so, as I said before, if there is a need to take a young person out of a community environment and put them into some sort of residential system, then what that would look like is a far more localised environment, a space that is very small numbers, home sort of environment in a local community, connected to community, not these big sort of residential units that, we kind of see in different places around the world. And so that's the opportunity there, is actually you look at the evidence, you ensure that you provide an intervention that works. And by works, I mean that actually we prevent further harm. So if the young person goes into that environment, that they're not coming out again and the harm continues, because actually we've worked with that young person, we've worked with the community, and we've started to respond adequately.
And does that, in the meantime, keep the public safe, though? Because, I mean, surely we're trying to stop, when you say stop the harm to the offender, well, we need to also think about public safety here as well, and community safety, and places that are getting hit and stuff like that. So is public safety number one priority?
Yeah, totally. So totally. There's two avenues there. So there is the avenue of community-based supports, where you're working with young people in the community, and by addressing what's going on, you actually prevent further harm from occurring, right? And then, as I said before, there could be some space where some young people need a more supportive residential environment. And in that space, and I've used the word residential, but it's really a community environment that is local and in community. And so, if we're saying about, if you've got a young person that lives in West Auckland and they are needing that sort of intensive support, that you have a home-based service that is in West Auckland, where they are still connected to the community, where you're still supporting their families, and you're still engaging them in a way that they can reintegrate back into their community in a way that's going to be successful. What we do now in terms of taking young people out of their communities, putting them into a larger residential environment, and then dropping them back into their community without actually dealing with what's going on, it's not working. And, the government's right, that doesn't work. But what we've said instead is let's double down and keep doing what doesn't work, rather than responding adequately. I think what's really important in this conversation to acknowledge is that nothing that the government has put on the table is really all that new. This punitive, get tough on crime debate has been going on for decades, and we've tried boot camps, we've tried getting tougher, we've tried getting harsher, and it continues not to work. What we do know works is when we respond, when we provide the wraparound support, when we address what's going on in those communities, when we actually provide the young people with the care, love and support that they need to actually deal with why that behaviour is happening in the
But hasn't that been the system? Hasn't there been the system in the past year, though? That's been the system. We've provided them support. We don't send them to jail. We look after them. We hug them. But the crime has gone up in the past year. Youth crime has spiked.
So overall, it continues to work. As I said, with the fast track program, 76% of those who went through that approach didn't reoffend. Overall, over the decade, we've continued to go down in terms of youth crime. We've had a small spike in the last report, and you've got to remember the context of that. So between 22 to 23, that's the period that it's capturing. That period comes straight after lockdown, straight after you had a whole community of children who were disconnected from the communities, where all of those key drivers for youth crime were exacerbated around disconnection, around poverty, around lack of social inclusion within their communities. And so it's not a surprise that that spike has gone up during that period of time. So if you want to solve a problem, you step back and say, well, what does the evidence say? What do we know works? What is working? And we've got a lot of evidence to show over the last decade what has been working. And now, why is it not working for this small group of young people? And when we dig into that small group of young people, we realise that this is a group of young people that have been significantly harmed. They're children who are being abused. They're children that in some cases are living on our streets. They're children that have neurodiversity. They may have FASD. They're children that are mentally unwell, whose family themselves will also be dealing with all of those things. And we don't have the supports and services in our community to adequately respond to that. Instead, they get the book thrown at them, they get shoved into a residential unit, they get come back out the other side, and nothing's been addressed, and it continues to happen. And so,
but
again,
this evidence that you say works.
And let's respond.